Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, you're in for a wild ride. And if you've been with us for a while, you already know, we go deep, and we go all the way. Today's story might sound like something out of a treasure hunter's dream. A coin worth just 25 cents, yeah, a regular old quarter, ends up being valued at a jaw-dropping, wallet-busting, almost unbelievable $77 million. Sounds crazy, right? But hold on to that thought, because once we dive into the events, the characters, the mystery, and the history surrounding this rare 1991 quarter dollar, you'll see just how deep the rabbit hole really goes. Picture it, 1991. The world was in flux. The Soviet Union had just collapsed, Operation Desert Storm had dominated the news, and grunge music was starting to take over the airwaves. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, the US Mint was going about its usual business, cranking out coins by the millions. Nothing too glamorous. Just quarters, nickels, pennies, change that most people would use in vending machines or drop on the sidewalk without a second thought. But among those millions, one quarter emerged. One single coin. An anomaly that no one noticed. Not yet, at least this quarter was stamped with the usual markings, the profile of George Washington, the word liberty, the date, 1991, and the tiny but all-important letter P, which stood for the Philadelphia Mint. Nothing seemed unusual about it. At first glance, it was just another quarter destined for pockets, purses, and maybe the occasional couch cushion. But hidden within this coin was a secret that would remain buried for decades. A small mistake, or perhaps an intentional design feature, depending on who you ask, that would eventually make it one of the most valuable coins in the world. It wasn't until the early 2000s that whispers started circulating among numismatists. Those are serious coin collectors, the kind who examine every ridge, every groove, every millimeter of metal for anomalies. Someone had stumbled across a 1991 quarter that didn't quite match the others. The details were different. Slightly off. The spacing between the letters was tighter, and the font on United States of America looked ever so slightly distorted. Most collectors would have shrugged it off. But this particular enthusiast, a retired metallurgist named Harold Bixby, had an eye for details most people would never notice. Bixby had been collecting coins since he was 12 years old, back when his grandfather gave him a coin album for Christmas. He wasn't just a hobbyist, he was obsessive. The kind of guy who'd spend 6 hours a day with a magnifying glass and a pair of white gloves. So when he found the 1991 quarter at a flea market, wedged between a Buffalo nickel and a Sacagawea dollar, he immediately sensed something was off. He bought the quarter for $2, mostly because he thought the seller had underpriced it. He had no idea at the time what he was holding. Back in his home lab, yes, he had a home lab, Bixby began analyzing the coin under high-powered microscopes. What he saw blew his mind. The edges of the coin weren't just slightly misaligned, they were double-stamped, but not in the usual way. It wasn't a typical minting error. This was a triple die obverse, a type of error so rare it usually only appears once every few decades. And it wasn't just the die that was off. The metal composition didn't match any other known quarters from that year. It had a higher concentration of silver than modern quarters, which were supposed to be made of copper and nickel. How had this happened? Bixby contacted a few trusted collectors and experts in the field, sending them high-resolution images of the coin and inviting them to inspect it in person. Within weeks, word had spread across numismatic circles. Forums lit up with speculation. Was it a prototype? A mistake? A counterfeit? Experts disagreed. Some claimed it was a freak accident at the mint, a 1 in a billion error. Others believed it was part of a test run, perhaps from an experimental batch that was never meant to enter circulation. But no one could say for sure. Then things got weird. A former mint employee named Carlos Medina, who had worked at the Philadelphia Mint during the early 90s, reached out to Bixby. He said he remembered something about a special batch that had gone missing. According to Medina, there was talk among workers at the time that a few experimental quarters had been mistakenly released. These coins were never meant to see the light of day, they were part of a metallurgical test to study the effects of alternative alloys under circulation stress. Medina couldn't provide documents, he didn't want to get in trouble, but he was willing to go on record anonymously. Bixby took the story seriously. By now, the coin was gaining fame. It was featured in numismatic journals, discussed at collector conventions, and even mentioned in a few mainstream media outlets. The story had all the elements of a great mystery: a missing experimental coin, insider whispers, and an unknown value. No one could agree on what the coin was worth. Some said maybe a few thousand. Others speculated it could go for six figures. But Bixby, ever the perfectionist, held on to it. He wasn't interested in selling. Not yet. Then came the offer. In 2013, a private collector from Dubai, rumored to be a member of the royal family, offered Bixby $5 million for the coin. Just like that. No questions asked. Bixby declined. That refusal made headlines. The quarter worth more than a mansion was how one article put it. But Bixby remained focused. He wanted answers. He wanted the truth. In the following years, several attempts were made to replicate the coin through lab processes, but none were successful. The unique combination of metal alloy, dye error, and minting pressure couldn't be reproduced. That only added to the coin's mystique. It was now considered a black swan in the world of coin collecting, something so rare and unpredictable that it defied all previous knowledge. By 2019, a panel of numismatic historians officially declared the 1991 P quarter to be unique in the world. Only one was known to exist, and no others had surfaced. That same year, a European auction house offered to host a private bidding session for elite collectors. The coin didn't sell during the first round, but after a year of negotiation and authentication processes, an anonymous buyer from Hong Kong placed the final bid. $77 million. That's how much the mysterious 1991 P quarter went for. And just like that, it vanished into a private vault, likely never to be seen again. Some people still question the price tag, wondering if the buyer paid for rarity or simply for the story behind it. But in the world of collectibles, sometimes a story is worth more than gold. There are even rumors, unconfirmed, of course, that Bixby held onto a second coin. He always seemed just a little too calm when asked whether any others existed. There's always more to the story, he once told a journalist, smiling cryptically. Whether he was bluffing or hinting, we may never know. Harold Bixby passed away in 2022, taking any secrets he had to the grave. Today, collectors still search through their spare change, hoping to find something unusual. Every so often, someone posts a blurry photo of a 1991 P quarter online, asking if it might be the one. But so far, no verified matches have been found. The $77 million quarter remains one of a kind. It's stories like this that keep the world of coin collecting so fascinating. It's not just about the coins themselves, it's about the people who chase them, the secrets they uncover, and the mysteries that still lie hidden in plain sight. Somewhere out there, in a dusty jar of forgotten coins, or maybe in a drawer beneath a stack of old receipts, there might be another anomaly waiting to be found. So next time you get change from a vending machine or dig into your coin jar at home, take a second look. Who knows? You might be holding a piece of history. A mistake worth millions. A 25-cent piece that could change your life. And if you enjoyed this wild ride into the world of rare coins and million-dollar mysteries, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon so you never miss another unbelievable story. We've got more legends, more lost treasures, and more twists coming your way. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Next, if I told you that one seemingly ordinary coin, minted in 1998 with a small D stamped beneath the date, could be worth over $63 million. That's not a typo. One single quarter. 63 million. If you're thinking this sounds like something out of a movie or a strange internet rumor, you're not alone. But as it turns out, this story is real, and it has sent waves through the numismatic world for decades. The coin in question, officially known as the 1998 D Washington quarter, wasn't supposed to be anything special. It came off the presses in Denver, along with hundreds of millions of others. To most people, it looked just like every other quarter minted in the late 90s. But hidden among those countless coins was one anomaly, a coin so rare, so perfectly flawed, and wrapped in such a mysterious story, that it would one day shatter all expectations of what a modern coin could be worth. Now, to really understand how a 25-cent piece can fetch such a staggering price, we need to go back in time. Not just to 1998, but much earlier, to the roots of American coin collecting and the hidden world of errors, misprints, and ultra-rare mints. Coins have always held a special place in history. Every country has its currency, but the United States, with its long and turbulent past, has produced coins that are not just money, but snapshots of American identity, conflict, and change. From Civil War-era half-dollars to the golden St. Gordon's double eagles of the early 20th century, rare coins have captivated collectors for centuries. But unlike those gleaming gold coins from centuries past, the 1998 D quarter wasn't rare because it was old or made from precious metal. In fact, by composition, it's mundane, just copper and nickel like every other modern quarter. The magic lies in a bizarre combination of factors: a misprint, an unapproved die, and an unexpected design anomaly. There are whispers among collectors and insiders that the coin may have been the result of a rogue mint employee, or perhaps a test piece that was never meant to leave the Denver Mint facility. But somehow, it did. Only one verifiable specimen has surfaced to date, and the details surrounding its discovery are just as fascinating as the coin itself. According to widely circulated reports, it was found not in some high-end estate collection or auction catalog, but by an unsuspecting mechanic in Colorado who noticed something unusual while counting change for a vending machine. The coin had a peculiar luster, an almost mirror-like surface, and the spacing of the letters looked slightly off. At first, he thought it might just be a polished quarter or perhaps foreign currency that got mixed in. But something about it seemed off. He took it home, put it under a basic magnifying glass, and started doing research online. Weeks passed. He became obsessed. He posted blurry images on coin forums and collectors' groups. At first, most dismissed it. Probably just post-mint damage, they'd say. Don't get your hopes up. But then one sharp-eyed collector noticed something bizarre: the spacing between the T and the S in states on the reverse side was inconsistent with known examples. That minor detail led to a cascade of discoveries. The font was subtly different, the eagle on the back looked unusually sharp, and there was an unidentifiable mark near Washington's neck, almost like a tiny engraved number. Eventually, the coin made its way into the hands of a professional numismatist with decades of experience. Under high-powered microscopes and advanced imaging, they confirmed the truth: this was no ordinary coin. It was a transitional error unlike any other. The quarter had been struck using an experimental die that was believed to have been destroyed before mass production began. Somehow, it survived. And not only that, it had been used. Experts speculated that during a late-night test run at the Denver Mint, someone had loaded the wrong die into the press. Only a few coins could have been produced before the error was caught. Most would have been melted down or discarded. But at least one escaped. The coin eventually went to auction. Bidders flew in from around the world. Secretive phone calls were made. Some suspected private collectors, others guessed that a museum or even a tech billionaire was behind the sale. When the hammer finally dropped, the room went silent. $63 million. For a quarter. A 25-cent piece that most people would have walked past on the street. But what makes this story even more compelling is what happened after the sale. The coin vanished from public view. Its owner has remained anonymous, its location unknown. It has not been exhibited at any coin shows, nor photographed in high resolution since. This has only fueled speculation. Some think the buyer is protecting their investment, waiting for the value to rise even more. Others think the coin holds a deeper secret, perhaps linked to a hidden pattern in US currency, or even tied to historical figures and events in subtle ways only a few insiders understand. There are even conspiracy theories. Some believe the coin was never supposed to exist and that its release was a massive oversight the US Mint tried to cover up. They point to inconsistencies in public records, the refusal of officials to comment on the coin, and unusual redactions in documents related to 1998 minting procedures. A few go further, tying it to secret societies or coded messages in American coinage. While those ideas might seem far-fetched, one thing is undeniable: the 1998 D quarter has become something far greater than a coin. It's a symbol, a modern legend in a world where such stories feel increasingly rare. For coin collectors, the quarter is the holy grail. For investors, it's proof that tangible assets can sometimes outperform even the most lucrative stocks. And for everyday people, it's a reminder to look twice at the ordinary things in life. You never know what might be hiding in plain sight. After news of the $63 million sale broke, people all over the country began scouring their change jars. Pawn shops reported surges in customers asking about old coins. Coin dealers received thousands of emails and phone calls. Some legitimate, some hopeful, and many confused. The US Mint issued a short statement, reaffirming that no known mint error of that nature had been authorized, and that all experimental dies from that year were accounted for. But the community knew better. History had already been made. Stories began surfacing about other potential anomalies from the 90s. A few quarters with off-center strikes, some with double die errors, and even one with a visible crack on Washington's neck that seemed too precise to be accidental. Rumors swirled that there might be other ultra-rare quarters out there. Some began speculating that the 1998 D wasn't a one-off, but the tip of the iceberg. If one error coin could fetch over 60 million, what would happen if more came to light? This frenzy created what some now call the modern coin rush. A new generation of collectors emerged, young people with magnifying glasses, metal detectors, and social media groups dedicated to finding the next $1 million coin. They shared photos, tips, and guides. Apps were developed to scan and analyze coins using AI. Some got rich. Most didn't. But the movement was born, and it hasn't slowed since. Even now, decades later, people continue searching. Maybe it's not just about the money. Maybe it's the thrill, the idea that something incredible might be lying unnoticed in a drawer, in a glove box, or tucked behind couch cushions. That's the magic of it. Coins like the 1998 D quarter remind us that even in a world of digital transactions and fast-paced technology, there's still wonder in the tangible, the old-fashioned, the overlooked, and while there may never be another coin exactly like that quarter, the possibility alone keeps the dream alive. So next time you get change back from the grocery store, take a moment. Look closely. Run your fingers over the surface. Examine the date, the mint mark, the details. That tiny clink of metal in your palm might be more than just change. It might be history, and if this story stirred your curiosity or made you want to dig through your spare coins, then you're not alone. Stories like this are exactly why we keep exploring the incredible world of numismatics. If you'd like to hear more fascinating tales of rare coins, shocking auctions, and the secret lives of everyday objects, don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button, and tap the bell so you won't miss what's coming next. Who knows, maybe the next $1 million coin is sitting right in front of you. Last, one of the most expensive coins in numismatic history, commanding a jaw-dropping value of $83 million. That's right, this is the story of the 1992 P quarter dollar, and the stunning truth behind its astronomical worth. But before we dive into the legend of this incredible coin, let me take you back to the early 90s. A time of cultural shifts, technological booms, and, in the shadows of the US Mint, a tiny anomaly that would escape detection for years. This wasn't just any coin. This wasn't just an error or a misprint. This was a whisper of fate, a one-in-a-billion marvel that would later send collectors into a frenzy, experts into debates, and treasure hunters on lifelong quests. Our story begins in Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Mint, one of the primary facilities responsible for producing coinage for circulation in the United States, had its usual production lines buzzing in 1992. Quarters featuring George Washington's iconic profile were rolling off the presses in massive quantities, hundreds of millions of them. These quarters were standard, everyday legal tender, destined to end up in vending machines, laundromats, and the bottoms of kitchen drawers across the country. But amidst this ordinary scene, something extraordinary happened. A small batch, no more than a handful, of quarters left the mint floor looking just like all the others. They bore the familiar P mint mark of Philadelphia. They carried the date, 1992. But beneath the surface, they were fundamentally different. How? That question took years to answer. You see, the coin in question was not known to exist until a private collector in the early 2000s stumbled upon a strange quarter at a flea market in rural Arkansas. The seller had a table full of knickknacks, and among them, a small pile of change. The collector, drawn by a gut feeling and an unexplainable curiosity, noticed a 1992 quarter that shimmered differently. The edges were slightly sharper, the details more refined, and the weight, fractionally but noticeably different. He bought it for a quarter. Naturally, what happened next sparked one of the most intense coin investigations of the modern age. The collector sent the coin to several experts, and eventually, it landed in the hands of a veteran numismatist, an expert who had spent decades examining rare and valuable US coins. His reaction was immediate. This wasn't just a regular 1992p quarter. Something was different. Something was rare. After months of analysis, magnification, and metallurgical testing, the shocking truth was revealed. The coin had been struck not on a regular copper-nickel-clad quarter planchet, but on a leftover 90% silver planchet, intended for proof coins, and thought to have been completely phased out decades earlier. But how? The silver planchets hadn't been used since 1964 for circulation coins. The theory? A rogue planchet from a past era had been lodged within the mint's machinery, possibly hidden deep within the metal feed system. For nearly 30 years, it had been stuck, invisible to maintenance crews. But one day, in 1992, the machine was restarted, the gears shifted, and that ancient silver blank was finally fed into the press, producing a coin unlike any other. The implications were stunning. The combination of modern design with outdated, high-content silver metal created a coin that technically should not, and could not, exist. Its rarity? Unparalleled. Its demand? Immediate and frenzied, but even that wasn't the end of the story. After this first discovery, only 2 other similar coins were found, one in Florida, and another in a small antique shop in Washington state. Each discovery sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. Forums lit up. Articles were written. Major auction houses began whispering about the ghost of 92. By 2013, one of the 3 known examples went up for auction. The coin, encased in a secure holder, graded as MS-67 by the Professional Coin Grading Service, was estimated to fetch a modest $500,000. But when the final gavel dropped, it had shattered all expectations. The winning bid? Over $6.1 million. This marked the moment the 1992p silver quarter truly entered legend, but the tale didn't stop there. As time passed and whispers of hidden wealth in everyday change spread, a legend grew around a rumored 4th coin, this one somehow even rarer than the others. The difference? It bore microscopic markings that no other coin had. These markings, invisible to the naked eye, seemed to resemble a misaligned die clash, a freak occurrence where dies strike each other without a planchet in between. When this 4th coin was authenticated in a secret transaction in 2021, the price tag hit levels no one had ever anticipated. It was sold in a private deal between 2 billionaires for $83 million. Not for a golden statue. Not for a Picasso. But for a 25-cent piece, and yet, the price wasn't just about metal, or design, or rarity. It was about story. This quarter had become more than a coin, it was a symbol. Of luck. Of history. Of serendipity. A tangible piece of impossibility. But what makes a coin like this worth so much? There are a few reasons. First, population. Only 4 verified coins have ever been discovered. That makes them rarer than some of the most famous coins in history, including the 1804 silver dollar and the 1933 double eagle. Second, era pedigree. The 1992p silver quarter is the only known modern coin struck on an obsolete planchet without being part of a known proof run. Third, provenance. Each of the known examples has a documented history, tracing ownership from collector to collector, like rare art. And finally, desire. Coin collectors, especially those with deep pockets, are driven by the thrill of ownership, the prestige of rarity, and the joy of holding a piece of a story that almost wasn't. Imagine holding that coin in your hand. Just for a moment. Feeling the weight, the cold touch of silver, the ancient metal whispering secrets from the past. Would you keep it? Would you sell it? Or would you spend your life searching for more, wondering if perhaps another is out there, still hiding in plain sight? Because that's the other part of this tale. Many believe there are more out there. Maybe 10. Maybe 50. Maybe just one more. Somewhere in a piggy bank. A parking meter. A dusty drawer. Waiting. The story of the 1992p quarter dollar is not just one of metal and minting. It's about the unlikely, the overlooked, and the unexpected. It's about the thrill of the hunt. It's about the mysteries that hide in our everyday lives, tucked inside the familiar, waiting to be noticed. So next time you get change back from the grocery store, or dig through a jar of coins to do laundry, take a closer look. Because lightning might just strike again. And you could be the one to hold history in the palm of your hand. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more amazing tales about hidden treasures, rare collectibles, and unbelievable discoveries, make sure to